Good morning. It's another beautiful day. It's Thursday. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Tim Harris. It's time for 10 with Tim. I don't think this day could get any better already. It's just so beautiful. Wow, what a beautiful, beautiful morning. And we're starting in the Word. So, my goodness, it's going to be good, is it not? We're in Zechariah, one verse by verse. Zechariah chapters 10 and 11 today. How you doing? Are you good? Have you read ahead? These are good chapters. I think they're interesting. There's a lot of pastoral imagery. Pastoral, in that sense, it means having to do with shepherds, the tending of sheep, the flock. But obviously, pastor, my role, like a church leader, comes from that root. So I'm a shepherd. And for that reason, I really resonate with these chapters because it's quite a condemnation of those who are supposed to be leading God's people, the flock of the Lord, but turn out to be very, very unfaithful, incompetent shepherds. So I do take this passage very seriously just for myself. Chapter 10 starts out, ask the Lord for rain in the spring. He makes the storm clouds. He'll send showers of rain, so every field becomes a lush pasture. Right from the start here, it's an encouragement, an admonition to call upon the Lord to send rain. But of course, at the same time, it's an indictment against the people who continue often to use and depend upon false gods. You know, Baal, of course, was a god of fertility. He was the god of rain. He was a storm god. And so, in this sense, Zechariah is preaching to the people, stop looking to household gods for, worthless advice. Fortune tellers only predict lies. Interpreters of dreams pronounce falsehoods that give no comfort. My people are wandering like lost sheep. They are attacked. They have no shepherd. Again, they're depending upon these false, empty options, Baal or household gods or, fortune tellers, that sort of thing, which means in the end they are like sheep without a shepherd, as Jesus would say. Verse 3, my anger burns against your shepherds, and I will punish those leaders. We're probably talking about all the leaders, kings, priests, anyone who had responsibility, to lead and feed the people of God. And they have failed, and they continue to fail, that they do not take seriously the responsibility to the people. And so God, who loves his people, will come and shepherd them. I love it. The Lord of heaven's armies has arrived to look after Judah, his flock. He is the true shepherd. He is the one on whom they will depend. Verse 4 may be a little puzzling unless you understand that it's a messianic prophecy. From Judah will come the cornerstone, the tent peg, the bow for battle, and all the rulers. We're talking about the Messiah here, the Messiah that comes from Judah. And then what follows here is this description of the Lord's care. You get this rejoining of the kingdom, Judah and Israel, or Judah and Ephraim, as the Hebrew actually says. So it's this messianic foreshadowing, but also this beautiful picture of the people of God that come back into unity and just simply flourish under the Lord's care. Verses 8 through 12 describe this kind of regathering and re-strengthening. The really beautiful little image here is in verse 8 when it says, when I whistle to them, they'll come running. I don't know if you've ever whistled for your dog. In the ancient world, shepherds would call their sheep. They would often carry a little tin whistle or something, a pipe that they could blow that would whistle, and the sheep could hear it across the distance, and they would know the sound of their shepherd's whistle, and they would come running. So the Lord there is just this really charming picture of the way he knows us, the way we know him, and when we hear his call, we run to him. Though I have scattered them like seeds among the nations, they'll still remember me in distant lands. Their children will survive and return again to Israel. They'll pass safely through the sea. The waters of the Nile will dry up. My power will make my people strong. And that's chapter 10. It flows right into chapter 11. The beginning of chapter 11 really talks about this. It's a picture of the broken down leaders and nations, but it's in terms of the broken forests. the cedars of Lebanon, the cypress trees, the oaks of Bashan. The thickets in the Jordan Valley are ruined. It's this idea of the nations being ruined, but the picture of that is the devastation of the forest. Now, chapter 11 with that makes a really strong turn toward a much more judgment imagery and something of a really negative tone. Now, I can't decide what to think about this last part of chapter 11, where it's the good and evil shepherds, but verse 4, this is what the Lord God says to Zechariah. Go and care for the flock that is intended for slaughter. The buyers slaughter their sheep without remorse. The sellers say, praise the Lord, now I'm rich. The idea is there's this flock that they're all going to be slaughtered. And for that reason, nobody falls in love with them. Nobody cares. Nobody's shedding any tears for them. This is what they're for. They're meat. They're going to be slaughtered. If you've ever lived on a farm, you know how horrible it is when you fall in love with a chicken and then your daddy cuts it. I'm an old man. Most of y'all don't know where meat comes from anymore. But in the old days, on the farm, we all knew you ate chickens, you ate hogs. And so if you fell in love with your, bottle calf, which I always did, it was devastating when you sold them and had them slaughtered for meat. Here, these are the flocks that are designated for slaughter. And Zechariah is told by God to go and care for that flock. And so that's what he does. In the process, he takes 2 shepherd staffs and he names them. Now, it's not unheard of. It would be the equivalent of like a mechanic or a carpenter naming his favorite hammer, and people do that, but it's not something you do all the time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if most of us have a favorite burner on the stove. Mine is the one on the front left, but I don't name it, Betty. I mean, you know what I mean? So he names his tools, he names his staffs, but all of this is a symbolic action. It's parabolic action, like a parable. Some scholars, assume that he must have gone out and literally taken a job as a shepherd. Others assume that maybe this is something that he acted out dramatically in public. Perhaps he dressed as a shepherd. He carried the staffs. I don't know. I don't know. It's strange. Ezekiel laid on his side, for a period of days. So the prophets could often act out. They would do these symbolic actions. So I don't know. I just don't know. But he had these shepherd staffs. He names one favor and he names the other one union. And then in very dramatic fashion, he breaks him over his knees, shatters him in public. It would be a shocking kind of image. It would be the equivalent of throwing away a wedding ring or maybe for dramatic purposes, breaking a plate of your wedding china. It's the idea that the covenant is broken, the relationship is broken. I am no longer the shepherd to these sheep. I no longer am caring for them. And that's a picture. If you're killed, you're killed. That's what he says. Notice at that point, he asked to be paid. And it is said that they paid him 30 pieces of silver, which he then throws down at the potter in the temple of the Lord. Again, all of that foreshadows the betrayal of Jesus, Judas being paid 30 pieces of silver. He throws it back. I mean, all of this is a foreshadowing of that, is it not? 30 pieces of silver, I believe, was the price to pay if you accidentally killed somebody else's servant. So the idea here is when they're going to pay the prophet his wages, he's worth no more than a dead servant. And so all of this is a great insult. Then the Lord said to me, verse 15, go again and play the part of a worthless shepherd. This illustrates how I will give this nation a shepherd who will not care for those who are dying, not look after the young, nor heal the injured. Instead, the shepherd will eat the meat of the fattest sheep and tear off their hooves. What sorrow awaits this worthless shepherd. Again, the idea here is that God is going to continue to let the people have what they ask for, and that is just simply shepherds who do not care for them. It's a consequence of their sin. It's a part of God's judgment. Just makes you wonder, if our worthless shepherds are the politicians who govern our nation, if in some ways we haven't brought that right of Washington on ourselves, and no doubt we have. This is a democracy. We choose our leaders, so we chose all those clowns, you know. And so again, it's just a picture simultaneously of how this bad, evil, worthless leadership becomes a consequence of the sin, a way that God judges his people, but also it underlines the way in which it breaks the heart of God to see his flock, his people that he loves, be mistreated, led to slaughter by shepherds who do not care. Again, I read this as a pastor. I'm under shepherd. I have a flock under my care, for which I will answer to the Lord. And I always, take very seriously this obligation to lead and feed them. Man, I'm not always faithful, not always perfect, but I certainly don't want to stand before God one day and receive this kind of indictment. We'll pick up here tomorrow. We're going right through the book of Zechariah and almost finished. We'll do chapters 12 and 13 for tomorrow, okay? 12 and 13, and then we'll wrap up with chapter 14. We'll be done with Zechariah, okay? So 2 more days, 12 and 13 for tomorrow, okay? So listen, have a wonderful day. It's beautiful. I don't have to tell you, it's so pretty. Go sit on your porch today. Drive slow to work. Come home with the windows down. Eat supper on the porch. Just enjoy this good day that God has made, and to stay in the Word. I'll see you in the morning, Lord willing, at 10 o'clock for 10.